Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final preview for the Breeders' Cup 2025 Del Mar edition. Although it will be Del Mar again next year, isn't it? It's weirdly popular Del Mar in the 2020s, despite only having had it 3 times historically.
I'm not sure it is Del Mar next year. I think it might be going back to Kentucky. I know it's Belmont in 2027. Might be Kentucky next year. I don't think it's Del Mar.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I will check that the next time you're ranting, because I've got a feeling it is. But immediately on a digression, normally we are far more to the point than this. What we're going to talk through today is essentially the dirt undercard from Saturday. So we'll talk through the Breeders' Cup Sprint, the Filly and Mare Sprint, and then the Mile, which looks one of the most interesting mile races that we've had at the Breeders' Cup in recent years. So yeah, very much looking forward to getting into that. But what we will start with is the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So this is the configuration of the track. You can see the start point there. This doesn't really, I mean, it looks like they've got quite a long way to sort themselves out here, Daniel. Does a draw take much of an effect?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. They've got 3 furlongs till the bend. There's no, rush to get into position before you start turning. That said, Del Mar is a speed favouring track, and horses coming from the clouds as closers in the last furlong and a half are pretty rare. Although, as we'll see on the next slide, it has happened. So yeah, these are the three last Del Mar Breeders' Cups, and the winning stall, as well as the next 4 home. Note a couple of things. Number of runners on the right. Note that the sprint has not filled. The field has not filled to the maximum of 14 at Del Mar until this year. So you've had 10, 9, 11 runners. Within that, you can see that 8 winners from 8, from 10. First, second, third, 8, 10, 8, 10, 9. There's absolutely no problem being drawn wide in the sprint. It's not about where you're drawn; it's about track position. And by halfway, if you're not close to the lead, it's rare. It's rare to sort of suddenly make up all that ground. That said, 2021 in the middle there. That is, I think, the winning year of Aloha West, and where closers came to the form. Aloha West was closer to last than first, with not that many furlongs to go, but the leaders completely overdid it, and they finished out of the first 4 places, the first 3 leaders. So a pace can melt down if they go mad, but the norm is for speed to hold up, or certainly horses not just on the lead, but close to the lead. And last year we saw that with Bentornato and Straight No Chaser from 8 and 6.
Okay, well, let's get into talking about Bentornato and Straight No Chaser in a bit more detail. Bentornato, one of the hottest AntePost bets that we have. I think we put him up at 16s. Now best price 4s of the UK. And David Arcano, sorry, I've butchered your name again. You're predicting that he'll go off at 5-2. So plenty of value to be had there. But how do you evaluate his chances? And obviously, a 16-1 prospect is very different to a 4-1 prospect. So, what do you make of Bentornato?
He's got a big chance. He's the right favourite. That said, it's a 14-horse sprint, and there are other good horses. He's no gimme. This is no slam dunk. But he's got really good speed, and he can maintain it. We've hardly seen him this year at all. He ran. He ran second. He was only been half a length last year behind Straight No Chaser, at quite a big price. But comes back and with some half decent horses in the races, and he absolutely destroys them. Recording, by the way, and we'll look at these later, the fastest speed figure on the Bayer scale that he's ever run. So if you can back that up, if you can run to the same level again, he sets a really, really good standard here, particularly as last year's winner didn't come back in, with the same kind of jaw-dropping performance. He's got a huge chance. There's other speed in here, and I think the biggest threat to him, I mean, other than throwing in a clunker, which horses can do, the biggest threat is if there's too many horses vying for the lead and they go too hard. That's the risk for Bentornato. But otherwise, you feel he must run well, and I think he's the most likely winner still.
Okay. Next investment, we've got Imagination, for which there is quite a big discrepancy between the forecast morning line price and the current UK best price, for which there's also a reversal of that for Copion, which is quite interesting. But we'll start by talking about Imagination at 92.
Yeah, Imagination, Bob Baffert. This fella hasn't always been a sprinter. He only debuted last year and looked March 24. Looked really talented. He was in second in a Group 1, and people thought he might sort of be. Sorry, bit of background noise. Dog has heard her mistress come in. Ignore it. But it all went slightly wrong over trips of between 7 and 9 furlongs, and he had a bit of time off. And he comes back and records that performance at Santa Anita, which was something really, really special. He won it, as if he wasn't even trying that hard. Ran past Dr. Venkman and Straight No Chaser, who faded. Santa Anita Sprint Championship, I think it was. This guy is potentially could be anything as a sprinter, and on his only try, he's looked superb. Can he back it up? Can he get better? Can he get a bit faster? Because it wasn't that fast a run. It's all fascinating, but in the aftermath of that, European bookmakers still had him at 10-1, and we tweeted that out. It was a sort of nonsense price. That looks, half that looks about right. I don't know what to expect. If he steps forward again, he's a complete player in this. He won that so easily.
Okay, yeah. Potentially hold off at 92 because it looks like this forecast that he could drift. I don't know whether Bob Baffert will be of more interest to the UK and European punters who want to follow the market on. Likewise, Copion, as mentioned before. So there was a lot of umming and ahhing between whether she'd go here or for the filly and Mare Sprint. She's ended up going here to split with Tamara, and she's currently best price of 6-1. What do you make of her?
Well, in a way, I mean, the story of this race is about Copion, with all due respect to Bentornato, Straight No Chaser and Imagination, because this filly has looked absolutely superb and has run some monster numbers. And she was going to be a clear favourite for the filly and Mare Sprint, only for Trainer Mandela and, crucially, the owner, Spendthrift Farm, who owned both her and Tamara, to think, do you know what? This is crazy. Tamara's got a massive chance in the filly and Mare Sprint. We'll come to her later.
Hopefully.
So what are we doing? Let's chuck Copion in with the boys. Fascinating move. Makes this race much more interesting. Really interesting. But I have my doubts. Despite that, you can get 6-1 in Europe, and I think this is the expectation, as expressed in David Aragona's morning line odds, that you're going to get a little more than half of that with the US public on race day. She's not. I don't think she's a 6 furlong horse. I mean, her blowout monster buyer figures are, 7 furlongs. And she was very good behind Seismic Beauty. Again, those were monster numbers earned by both horses. Last time out, that was a longer distance still, so 8.5 furlongs. She's been beaten by Sweet Azteca, who's the favourite for filly and Mare Sprint over 6.5. And I'm good for them for going for it. But if she was not in the same colours as a Spendthrift Farm, I'm sure they wouldn't. I don't quite see it. Plus, she's not a blast from the gates, lead all the way type. So she's going to have a load of horses ahead of her. She's going to have to work out a trip. Anyway, fascinating. I wouldn't, despite the fact that you can get 6-1, and I'm sure many Americans think, "Wow, give me some of that." This is a fantastic bet. I still wouldn't quite recommend her. I mean, she thinks she's terrible, each way bet. I don't know how it's going to go for her. Maybe she can win, and maybe 6 is fair. But yeah, it's just 6 furlongs feels too short a distance for me.
Okay. What about Straight No Chase? The last winner, Horses for Courses, 8-1. Why is he so much bigger in the best than Bentornato, who he beat?
Yeah, well, the difference lies in their returns, doesn't it? Bentornato, spanked his field by open lengths, recording a monster number. Straight No Chaser led into the straight and then just died. Now, that was his first run back after an awfully long time. He had a big break after he went to Saudi, where he won impressively, then went to Dubai, where he flopped horribly. And then he had a lot of time off. So comes back, and it wasn't as bad as Dubai, but he really faded into third or fourth, beaten quite a few legs. The big question is oh, did he just need the run? In which case, fair enough, forgive him. And 8-1, probably not a bad price to find out for last year's winner. But he came into this last year off the back of a very good win, a very fast time after a break. So why was he dull this time? Not quite sure. Again, my idea of a really bad, each way win and show combo bet, I think he'll either turn up and go close, or he might fade out of it again and not be good enough. Maybe he's past his best.
Okay, so that's the front end of the market covered. As we creep into double figure odds, who is of particular note?
I just go through them from the top. Still two, you've got Banishing, who's a really good horse, has run some really good races this year, including some quite fast times. But they've been sort of 6.57, 7.58 furlongs. Bear 6 feels a little bit tight. He's kind of the horse that might be there, maybe picking up the pieces, but it's over 6 furlongs. Del Mar, can he do that? I don't know. If there's a better bet for me to pick up the pieces would be Lovesick Blues, who's sort of emerged as a sprinting force, having won the Group 1 Bing Crosby up at Santa Anita, different track, and came from well back. Now, coming from well back, it's not usually the way to win 6 furlong sprints with Del Mar. We saw Aloha West do it, and he does to me look big, 16-1 for that eventuality to happen. And you can see, expect it to be 10-1 or thereabouts in the US pools. And you've got a whole other host of horses, a bit like Banishing, who are perhaps not really 6 furlong types, who've just decided not to go to the dirt mile and come here. Dr. Venkman, good horse, second behind Imagination last time, but well beaten. He's never run a really fast enough time over 6 furlongs for me to think he can do this, but he's a good horse. Patriot Spirit hasn't run fast enough. Nakatomi would be interesting at other tracks because he's another close who could pick up pieces. But A, it's Del Mar, and B, he was really bad here last year. And in an interview with Wesley Ward, he talked about his groom who accompanies him everywhere he's ever raced, and knows him like the back of his hand. And last year, in the run up to this race, the groom said to Wesley, he said, "Look, Nakatomi, he doesn't like this surface. He's not removing fluidly on it." Anyway, sure enough, he ran badly. Wesley Ward admits all this conversation, and then he brings him back here again. I guess there's nowhere else for him to go. Why not give it a go? But he's not one of the closers I want, and I'm not sure you really want closers in this race anyway. American Stage, pretty fascinating. Japanese, didn't run badly in a sort of Dubai Saudi campaign. Dubai was about 5th in the big sprint, the name of which has escaped me, on Dubai World Cup night, 5th or 6th. Wasn't beaten far. Why has Yahagi brought her over? I think it's a filly. Could be wrong about that, in which case apologies. Why has he brought her over just to keep Forever Young company on the plane? Maybe she's improved. She was just run out of it in a prep in Japan on, I think, a sort of wet track, but having made all the running. Shows a lot of speed. I can't see her mixing with the American sprinters, but fascinating. The other key one to mention is Mullikin. Mullikin at his best, I mean, he should be sort of mid-single figures here. And he's run some big speed figures. He was 3rd in this last year. I think he's really a 7 furlong horse, and the sharp 6 furlongs, he couldn't justify, I think, favoritism indeed last year. And I don't expect him to beat Bentonato and Straighten and Chaser again. But I would say, double figures is quite large. He was really, really bad last time out against the best sprinter in the US, who has skipped this race for unfathomable reasons, Book M. Dano. But previously, he'd run Book M. Dano a bit more close and put up big numbers. So, yeah, not uninteresting. But yeah, those are the only ones I'd mention. I can't get to the 13 and 14 posts. They've got bad posts, and I don't see the form in the book.
Okay, fascinating race. Yeah, a comprehensive run through of almost every horse in the field, and so some interesting takes. I have been googling the background, and I can confirm you're correct. It is going to Kentucky next year. It's not back in Del Mar, so thank God we didn't put a bet on that. But yeah, any final summative pieces before we move on to the filly and mare sprint?
No, yeah, I'm aware we haven't given out an absolute clear, right, this is the horse you must back here. It feels too open, and the prices feel, not far off being right. But just make a note that Bentonato is fours, European bookmakers. I think he'll start shorter on the day if you want Bentonato. I don't think he must run well. He's better price now than you'll get on the day. And Straight No Chaser, I think that's a fair horse to take a punt with at 8-1, in case he has tightened up for that run. He won this last year. Won it like a good one, and maybe 8 feels a bit big. Those are the two things. I'm ducking Copian completely, but fascinated by her.
And Straight No Chase, that's a win only, right? It's not each way, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. We didn't touch on these, but we have the best speed figures here. So take a screenshot if you're particularly interested in them. But we will move on to the Breeders' Cup.
I've forgotten we had that. Could I just make one point here? The sort of the top buyer in the last 10 sprints you've had on the right there, 110, and the average 106. It's kind of skewed by a couple of really fast sprints. But looking at the screens in terms of the numbers they've run, if maybe you shouldn't put all your weight in speed figures. It's just one factor in the mix. But it's quite interesting that a number of these horses have never run beyond the figure of 100. And you don't win a Breeders' Cup Sprint if you haven't run to 100. So some of these have it all to do. Good winners of their prep. Patriot Spirit looked a good winner, but if you look at the numbers he's run, it just doesn't stack up. He's got to take a quantum leap forward.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Mare Sprint. Do not recognise this start. Is this the only time they're starting from this pole across the Breeders' Cup?
Yes, because it's it's the 7 furlong point on the dirt track. They come out of a chute and join the main track. And as you can see, they've got the best part of 4 furlongs before they turn. Draw, looks like it should be much less relevant in this race, and is completely irrelevant in this race. They've got so much time to sort themselves out, and you really have huge fields with this. So back in 2017, actually, it did fill. But look at this: 14, 12, and 13, filling 3 of the top 5 places. Whatever. 2021, you think, oh, hang on, it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw by us, only 5 runners. So that's the end of that. And last year 9 runners. There you go, 7, 8, 9, filling 3 of the top 5 places home. Just check out the draw. Just the draw doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, well, it looks like you want to be drawn up the middle in 2021, if anything. But not huge amounts to take from there. So let's get straight into the horses, and we'll start with Sweet Azteca, who is pretty hot price favorite. Just mentioned her previously in the last round. But what do you make of her in this company over 7 furlongs?
Sweet Azteca is a very, very exciting horse. She's got an incredible win to run ratio. She usually wins, and she often wins by open lengths. What have we got here? She's won 6 of her last 7. How about that? And she had a complete flop in a prep race for this last year, which they weren't going to do. They were going to take her straight here, and they thought they thought again, and she was really dull in August, and so they skipped this race. Maybe there's something wrong with her, but she's beaten Copion, who would have been favourite above her for this race, perhaps. So we know she's really, really good. I'm just wondering if 7 furlongs is a little bit further than she wants to go. I think particularly in this race, which sort of has a history of in 2 of the 3 runnings, they've gone too hard with that long 4 furlongs into the bend. They're racing early, and it's set up for closers. Now, maybe it won't do, but it's just a factor to bear in mind. I think sort of 6.5 would be better for Sweet Azteca, and I can't help think that something will run that down. Going gate to wire is difficult in this race, and it's not like a sprint. So I'm gonna duck her, even though I get her being favourite, but I don't want her at 2 to 1.
And are you going to duck her with the horse that we put up? Was it 12 to 1 tomorrow? Now into 5s. Morning line prediction of 7 to 2.
We recommended tomorrow at 16s, didn't we?
16.
Was it only 12?
I was only able to go on at 12. So
big big double figure price. Basically, this filly was an absolutely. She was the 2-year-old sensation. I'm going to say in 2023, and then turned up to the Breeders' Cup and was a very short price favourite after a 7-length blowout win in a Del Mar over this track, sort of kind of Group 1. And this was at Santa Anita, that Breeders' Cup 2 years ago, and she just blew out. And people thought, oh, maybe she wasn't good. She thought she was, but she was actually injured, and she's had multiple issues and injuries and this and that since, and things just haven't gone well, even when she has come back to the track. And it's not even she's been unlucky. I think one of her injuries is caused by lashing out and kicking a wall or something like that. She's our own worst enemy. But last time out looked like the magical Tamara 2-year-old back. She was the easiest winner you will ever see, and the jockey was asking her for nothing. The speed figure didn't come back that big, but she had more to give in that race. If she comes back in that form, reflective of her 2-year-old form, she has a massive chance. And 5-1, I'm very surprised that European book is still around 5-1. I think she's super dangerous, and I'd actually make her a bet even at that price, even though we were recommending her for a bet at double figures.
Yeah, it was 12s, but I think she was cut sort of just as you were writing the article, if I remember correctly. But okay, next in betting, we've got 11-2 shot Hope Roads. What do you make of her chances?
For Bob Baffert, who inherited this one as a 3-year-old. Well, she's 2 for 2 at Del Mar this year. She was thrashed by Copion at Santa Anita, but that was Copion and at a different track. And Copion would have been favourite for this race. So that's no disgrace. Winner of the Group 1 Ballerina from a couple of lengths by decent yardstick in Silla, who's to skip this in favour of the Distaff. She's good. She's good, Hope Road. She's sort of disappointed and went off the boil as a 2-year-old, but she's back and she's run 2 big speed figures this year, and she's not out of it. 11-2. I couldn't rule her out as being a winner. I just, at the prices, I'd prefer to back Tamara and the next one we're going to mention.
Okay, so I better get this right then. The next one is Richie, 8-1. Big discrepancy between
the other Baffert. This is quite interesting. If her form looks a bit muddied up in terms of being well beaten in her last 2 starts, and you think, that's hardly a great springboard for coming into this race. But basically, she's cutting back from just over a mile, 8.5 furlongs, where she's been beaten by 2 absolutely crack fillies. Cavalieri, who's sick and has missed or something went wrong with her, and she's missed the Distaff, where she would be a big player, and Seismic Beauty, who is the very short price now favourite for the Distaff. They're cutting her back in trip. She's got bags of speed and she's won over shorter distances before. I don't think that's a problem. She actually was quite impressive last time out, although she was well beaten in the end of it. She took second and looked like she was going to threaten before fading in the last. I like the cutback. I think she's got a good chance, and I think she's an interesting each-way play. 8-1 seems wrong. Just compare that with David Aragona's predicted 4-1 morning line. Maybe she won't be quite that short, but I don't think she'll be 8-1. And I think, with that win and show combination bet we can do in Europe for a fifth of the odds, you're making a nice profit for coming for second or third. I think she's got squeak about the win as well.
Okay, and then any of the horses at double figure prices?
Should mention Splendora, who is again another Baffer. His third string here. I mention it for 2 reasons. Although she was beating easy winner last time out, but she was in a much lesser grade race, gets lesser opposition. But then I just look at it again, and she posted a big speed figure for that. And then I noticed she's 3 for 3 at Del Mar, and it's like, okay. And she gets Flavian Pratt as for a third string Baffert to get one of the top jockeys riding in America is not a bad thing. All of this is a summary of saying I'd much rather be in some way on Tamara, Richie, Splendora, or indeed even Hope Road than I would at Swiss Teca at the prices. And I could be completely wrong, but I suspect Swiss Azteca will be caught. I didn't care for any of the outsiders in here, but apart from to mention that number 7, Hall and Ice, who I don't like at all in this race. She's coming for Safi Joseph from Gulfstream. She's in great form. She's won 5 of her last 6. It was a 3-length last time out, but it was a poor time. She never really run a fast time. But why she's interesting is she's a front runner. And that's something I forgot to mention earlier. Is that she'll be a thorn in Sweet Azteca's side. I can really see that, and I can see that just annoying Sweet Azteca in submission. That's my take on this race, right or wrong.
Okay, and then, well, yeah. Hopefully for AntePoster followers, tomorrow we'll then take advantage of Sweet Azteca's irritants at Hall and Ice and pay us generously at 12-1. Okay. Thank you for following us for the Philly Mare Sprint. We've got one more race to go, and that's
Should you just linger? Yeah. Would you just linger on those buyer feed swings just so I could say what I mean about Sweet Azteca? She's looked good, apart from that low buyer, which is when she blew out last August. Only a couple of runs, but she hasn't run any like gaudy speed figures that should get people scared. Richie's got the figures. Hope Road's got the figures. Tamara hasn't, but Tamara could have won that much more easily, and Tamara is back. So yeah, and those down the bottom, I just don't see it. If you haven't touched a 100 buyer in your life, it seems unlikely. Vava should be mentioned because she used to be a really good filly. Was one of the favourites for this 2 years ago, about a few months out, but went on form, and she's pretty much remained on form. And I think she's gone at the game. Praying won well last time out, but she's never run a fast figure.
Okay, not good enough. Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile is next, and here's a configuration. Noticeably short run to the first bend, and you want to be on the pace as noted here. We saw that last year when Notable Speech. Oh no, wrong surface. Full position is a major positive, and then I'll revert back to your so I don't slip up again when we look at the draw and its impact.
Yeah, would you just go back to that configuration again? Because that's pretty interesting, because you can see, unlike the mile turf, which starts sort of underneath the left-hand lake, the dirt mile, because the dirt track is outside the turf track, the mile start, they start turning, you go about half a furlong or not even a full furlong before you're turning. So you would have thought that to be drawn wide was a horror story, and that actually kind of seems to be the suspect, the perception when people do the draw. Oh no, got a terrible post. But again, look at all this. 10 runners on the right hand side, 10 runners 2017, 8 runners 2021, 13 runners 2024. It's difficult to look at that and claim that you're disadvantaged by being far outside. What is a disadvantage is not being somewhere close to the pace about halfway through the race. That's what doesn't happen. This sort of coming from right from the back. So in that sense, speed matters. And maybe if it was a really big field of 13, 14, you'd think, oh, that's quite wide. But this year we've got smaller field.
Okay, and yeah, here is the field, and they are led up by Nisos. He is currently best price 13-8. I think we predicted that he'd go 5-2, so we're slightly wrong about that. But at the time, he was 6-1 or so. So knew he'd be shorter, but enough horn tooting until we got onto Fuzzerano, probably. But yeah, enough horn tooting for now. What do you make of Nisos at 13-8? I've seen a few people online pretty skeptical about the way he's working at the track. I don't know if you've been following that or seen that, but suggests that a drift could be possible on Nisos.
That's very interesting. I hadn't actually been following works over the last few days at Santa Anita. What I did note, though, in the last few hours with the news that Sovereignty is out, Nisos has taken over the mantle of perhaps the most exciting dirt horse on the track this weekend. So that's another burden on his chances. Nisos is lightly raced. He missed much of last year, taking off the Kentucky Derby trail with an injury. He had another little injury, more minor this year, foot issue, and missed the Pacific Classic. Although some cynics say that Baffert took a look at Fierceness coming in and thought, oh, no, this is not the spot for him. But then he did miss the odd work. This was a few weeks back, and there was rumours he might not turn, and he looked like a sort of terrible advance bet, with the risk of losing all your money if you didn't turn up. Anyway, he has turned up, and you get your money back now. Trouble is now you're getting 8-5 and 13-8. The British and the Irish do their bookmaking fractions rather different from the Americans, but they're pretty much bang on the same as a price. It's quite short, isn't it? You either believe in his brilliance and say Nisos just wins, or you take the view he hasn't been in a biggish field of really good horses very often. In fact, I'm trying to work at if at all he's faced the odd good horse, but I don't think he's been up against 5 or 6 other top-notch Grade 1 types in the same race before. I think that is a different dynamic, and it asks him different questions. But boy, has he looked good in some of his wins, and I get the excitement, but I'm out at 8-5, 13-8.
Okay. Yeah, and some of those questions will certainly be asked by next in the betting. That's Full Serrano at 7-2.
Yeah, Full Serrano won this last year, and he was beaten last time out. He came back 2 back and looked very good, but it was easy company, won by open legs. But that he was beaten last time by Nevada Beach, who's running in the Classic, who might yet turn out to be an absolutely brilliant horse by then. But that was over up at Santa Anita, not Del Mar, where Full Serrano has last year's Dirt Mile in his back pocket, among other good runs. It was also over 9 furlongs, and I don't think Full Serrano wants anything over a mile. This is his 3rd run off the layoff, as they say, and 7-2 looks about fairish. I think he's the biggest threat to Nisos, and it wasn't a great Dirt Mile he ran in last year, but it actually doesn't look a great Dirt Mile. Even though there's some famous names in here, we'll look later at the speed figures. But he's got a big threat. He's got pace. He's got the right running style for the Dirt Mile, and should run well. I wouldn't rush him back him at 7-2. We put him up at what, 10-1, didn't we?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, an article on 10-1, and that was like crazy value. You've got to bet it, but I don't feel this is crazy value. You've got to back him at 7-2.
Okay. Next up, we have got 2 8-1 shots. We've got Mystic Dan and Goal Oriented, both of which morning line predictions are that they should be around 6-1 in the US markets. Would you have a preference of the two?
Yeah, it would be Mystic Dan, the Derby winner of last year, somewhat shocked Derby winner, it should be said. And then he went off form gradually. I mean, he was second in a week Preakness when he was favourite for, and then he was pretty dreadful for the next 3 runs. This year, he's come back, and last time he's come back and properly back to something like his best in the Lucas Classic. And Mystic Dan does this thing. He's not a front runner. He kind of sits behind it, probably gets to the rail. I like the fact he's drawn more inside than outside, and comes determinedly saving ground with a late run. I think he's dangerous, and I much prefer him to Goal Oriented, who I didn't expect to run in this race. Baffert threw in another one, and he's been sort of beaten several times in a row now. He was very close third to Journalism in the Haskell, but so was another horse in that sort of 3-way photo, and that horse has done nothing since. I think it was Journalist's worst run this season. But the other reason I don't like Goal Oriented is like the vibes are Baffert. I wrote it down. Yeah, we're putting him in because you never know, crazy things happen. That's not exactly a vote of confidence, isn't it? Crazy things happen. You're looking for a horse at 33-1, not a horse at 8-1 or 7-1.
Yeah.
So no, I could have egg on my face. I'm chucking Goal Oriented right out of it. Don't like him.
Okay. Next up, we'll talk about White Barrio, winner of the Classic 2 years ago. You would not have expected him to then be running over the Dirt Mile 2 years later at a price of 10-1. So what's got wrong there, and can he prove the bookmakers wrong?
Well, I have no issue with the trip. He's he can do it over a mile, and he was a brilliant winner of the, wasn't he was it the last Pegasus back in January, where he thrashed Lock by 6 months, 9 furlongs at his beloved Gulfstream. I think he's got the pace, Dan, to lay out with this. I don't have a problem with that. And as you say, he's a winner of a Breeders' Cup, brilliant winner of the Whitney before he won the Breeders' Cup, been around a couple of trainers, and I thought he was gone at the game. But again, this year, that run back in January, You throw out his last run, he lost his rider. He didn't lose his rider. The horse next to him, Mindframe, lost his rider. And the jockey was suspended in midair, holding onto White Barro's reins as well. That kind of ruined his chances. If he puts in one of his big runs, and yes, he's a bit long in the tooth, but if he's on a really going day, he's a threat. What I don't like is this post 10. There's plenty of speed. He likes to be not on the lead, but he likes to be up with the lead, and I can see him being trapped 3 wide. That said, 10-1 for a horse who on his day is mustard. It's not the worst price. Your other 10-1 shot is Citizen Bull. I prefer White Barrow to Citizen Bull. Citizen Bull won the juvenile at this track last year, and on his day, he's a good horse. He was a 5-length winner at Del Mar late August. Admittedly, it was a 3-horse race, but bit of a Del Mar specialist. The problem is with Citizen Bull is he leads and then can win, or if he doesn't lead, he's not going to win. And can he lead this field without being pressured? He kind of got an easy time of it on the front end of the juvenile last year. I think it's a deeper waters. So at the prices, I'm against him. Compared to White Barrow, I prefer to take a risk with the old boy rather than the slightly unreliable front-running Citizen Bull.
Okay, and then any of the outsiders at all, or should we move on to the buyer figures?
Just very briefly, Charles McPatrick, who was sort of second favourite for the juvenile last year, kind of blew out. Well, that's not great. It's your only trip to Del Mar, is it? And plus, we said you want to be up with the speed, and he doesn't have any. He'll drop back and make a late run. But were this, with all the sort of need the lead and pressing types, if this were to turn into a pace meltdown, there's one obvious horse to take advantage, and it's Chancellor McPatrick. I just, when they priced him up at 40-1 a couple of weeks ago, when this race started coming together, I backed him then and thought that was huge. And I can't believe he's still 40-1. I don't expect Chancellor McPatrick to win, and I'd be surprised if he was placed. But everything has its price, and 40-1 each way bets. You're getting 8-1 on the place, on the show part for our American viewers, and the place part for the European viewers. That's just too big. He's a pace meltdown play at 40s, but expect to lose your money if it's not a pace meltdown.
Okay, right. Do you want to quickly run through the buyer speed figures, or anything that's key to call out here?
Yeah, just that for all that Nisos has looked super exciting. If you actually look at the speed figures he's run, there's only one that stands out and towers over this field. The other, the 102 and the 98. There's plenty of horses can touch that sort of ceiling. And White Barrow, going back before the last 3 rounds, he's got much bigger figures than this in the locker in his past. So it looks like quite a close field. Full Serrano, if he gets back to the 104 last year. None of these, apart from Nisos, has run a 104 in their last 3 runs. Just on the right-hand side, worth noting that your average buyer, it shows how both last year, by the way, and this year are pretty poor dirt miles in terms of how fast horses can run. The average is 108, but that is skewed by some absolutely brilliant winners, the likes of Life is Good and Knicks Go and whatever. So, maybe that's unnecessarily high, but basically, this is not a hugely exciting bunch in terms of how fast they can go. And Nisos puts his best foot forward. He's the best.
Yeah. Which is quite incredible to say when you consider there's a Derby winner in here, last year's winner of this race, a Classic winner, a juvenile winner. It's deep, but maybe in years where it hasn't necessarily been so, that they've got their victories. But yeah. That is the last race we'll preview today, and that means that is also the last race we'll preview all in all. So thank you very much to everyone who's watched this all the way through. Please do like and share this. We genuinely would really appreciate it. And let us know who you're backed, what your positions are, and if you've got any outstanding positions, we really do like to see those. So thank you everyone for watching. Daniel, any last words?
Yeah, just briefly, the only races we haven't covered are the 2 juvenile dirt races. Kind of run out of time to get them in today. They're very short fields. I don't think you're around tomorrow. I might put out a couple of videos on those tomorrow, but then again, I might not. I'm burning the candle at both ends, and something must give at some stage.
Yeah, there's only 15 horses to run through, so it could be tough.
True.
But yeah, right. Thanks everyone. Enjoy your evenings and best of luck to all of you at over the weekend. Can't wait to watch it all. Can't wait to see it unfold. Right.
Yeah. Be lucky.
Yeah. Bye.